So what makes Langford Learning unique? Well, it really consists of multiple parts. One of the problems that we see in not only classroom management, but also corporation management is people get stuck on fads over time. And people often talk about the fad of the day or the flavor of the month. And these are new concepts that come up and then those seem to pass over time. So we didn't want to be a fad. So Langford Learning really consists of multiple parts. The first being the work of Dr. W. Edwards Deming and the concept of the system of profound knowledge. So it's pretty complex, but it's basically looking at systems thinking. So I had to learn how to look at a classroom as a system of interrelated parts to the whole and understand how to operate within that system, use data to be able to manage performance within that system, and understand the psychology of people within that system. Later, we started getting much deeper into neuroscience. And I started to realize how profound Deming's work was to begin with, because neuroscience really backs up what Deming was talking about. And neuroscience is really the study about, how does the brain work, but how does it actually process information, both from a psychological standpoint and from a biological standpoint. So neuroscience became a major component of that. I touched a little bit about intrinsic motivation. So Deming taught us that if you want to have a different situation, you have to have a different theory at work in that situation. So in my work, often I'll start off talking to people and asking them, what is your theory about what it is you're trying to do? And many times people don't have a well thought out theory of what they're trying to work through. And that actually leads them into what we call extrinsic motivation, using games, gimmicks, things like that can somehow get a quick result. Instead, we teach people how to get intrinsic motivation. So basically, people have a joy in wanting to come to work every day, and they have a joy in the learning that they do. That led us to try to figure out, well, how do you do this? People want to know, yes, I get that we should do more intrinsic motivation, but how do we do that? So we started taking originally what were called quality tools and combining them with tools that I've created over the years. And we have a book called Tool Time that incorporates these 64 different tools. Well, this gives people the method how to start Monday morning. And so that's what we do in our training, is teach people how do you actually use a tool to get started in the process. Then people started to say, well, we have bigger problems at work, big issues that we want to confront. So we created what's called the Probletunity process today, again, building on the work of Dr. W. Edwards Deming, and the PDSA process called Plan, Do, Study, Act. So we now have a full-fledged Probletunity process that kind of guides people through the problem-solving process, whether you're talking about a board, school board, or a corporate board, or you're talking about wholesale moving in a different direction in an organization. That's our Probletunity process. And that really actually came from my work with students, is they said, hey, when we work like this, all of our problems become opportunities, and therefore we coined the word Probletunity. So in a classroom, we started to learn that, the traditional way of teaching was sort of the Socratic method of lecture and people sit and get kind of thinking, and that's still in vogue today largely. But when you couple that with neuroscience and you actually look at the data of what people remember over time, they only really remember things when they're actually in a learning experience where they're thinking, doing, processing, and having to plan and use the prefrontal construct of their brain to look ahead and plan themselves. And so that started us thinking about creating what we call learning experiences. And these learning experiences actually draw people into learning. So the training that we do is actually a whole series of learning experiences where you're not just sitting and getting or having a PowerPoint presentation. You're actually part of the process and learning as you go through, getting the chance to talk to other people as you go through that process. So that's a deeper level or deeper look at what is Langford Learning.